Oh, yeah! You know what time it is. That's right, it's time for the Eddie and Webby Podcast! Yo, I'ma bust out some theme song action for you. Check it out. The Eddie and Webby Show is the place to be. They're talking about beer and pickleball and technology. So if you didn't know, now you know. 'Cause it's time for the Eddie and Webby Show.
On today's episode, Eddie and Webby show off their favorite crocheting techniques. This is the Eddie and Webby Podcast.
A7 you say, huh? Oh man, you sunk my battleship. Oh hey, how's it going? This is Webby, not Eddie.
And I'm Eddie, and this is our 64th podcast.
Oh yeah, episode number 64, and tonight is going to be a very fun night. We have an amazing guest. We'll have another installment of Pros Asking Pros Questions, and we have a pretty huge announcement that we're going to make at the end of the show, so you're definitely going to want to stay tuned for all of the fun times that are sure to be had.
That's right. This episode was originally supposed to go live a week ago, but there was some issues with the interwebs out there, everybody streaming Netflix, and we have those resolved now. So super excited to be able to bring this show to you today. And just a reminder, we are live. We are live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. And we are live on Twitch. And this show is meant to be interactive. So if you have questions or comments that you want to be able to bring up during the show, throw them in the comments. And maybe we'll show them on the screen or even talk about them. Right, Webby?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we love the interaction, so please interact. And to be honest, I blame everybody watching Tiger King last week. I feel like that's probably what overloaded the system, overloaded the internet. But I think everybody has finally watched Tiger King, so now the internet is kind of back to normal, I think.
They got it out of their system, right?
Yes.
That's right. And depending on how late the show goes, we might be doing another installment of Dinking Around with Eddie and Webby after the show. So if that does happen, and you guys might want to stick around because there might be some interesting things that we're talking about during it, right?
Oh yeah.
And as we mentioned before, we have a special guest that we're going to be bringing you tonight. But before we get into that, Webby, what's going on in Twitter?
Oh man, good old Twitter. Let me pull Twitter up here on my cellular telephone here. See what's going on the Twitter sphere. Here is a comment from L. Tunjan. At Eddie and Webby, your podcast with Deckel Bar was awesome. He seems like such a nice and down-to-earth guy. Well, nice. Thanks for that, L. And yeah, I agree. Deckel, he was an awesome guest. Super nice guy.
Yeah, one of the good ones out there, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Here's another comment here on Twitter. This one comes from CrispRat81. I've noticed Eddie and Webby have been posting more videos than usual lately. The world is dealing with enough crap right now. Can you please stop? Come on.
Come on, Crisp. That's not nice.
It's a little harsh, don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, we're just trying to get content out there, you know?
Right? We got nothing else to do. I mean, come on. But, all right, let's do one more. Let's do one more comment here on Twitter. Here's one from Lobby Parton. Eddie and Webby, I have really enjoyed your Florida Grand Slam experience videos on YouTube. I can't wait for part 3. Awesome. Thank you, Lobby. Very nice comment. And yeah, we've released 2 videos from our Florida Grand Slam experience so far. It's like a vlog style of videos that we're doing that documented our time together down at the Florida Grand Slam tournament down in Bonita Springs. I had a blast, and stay tuned
that was
for more.
That was like 6 weeks ago.
That's crazy. It seems like forever ago. I mean, it was a whole different world back then. We were able to play pickleball in public. We were able to do pickleball tournaments. We could go anywhere we wanted to, pretty much. And nowadays, it's like this is a different world we're living in right now.
Crazy time, that's for sure.
Yeah, but that's going to do it for the Twitter sphere for today.
Good stuff.
What do you want to do now? Is that the end of the show or what?
Yep. All right. Well, good to see you guys. Have a good day.
Oh, actually, I think I have a good idea. I think we should get to today's guest. What do you think about that?
Ooh, I definitely think we should do that.
So today's guest is one of the most loved and personable players in all of pro pickleball. Not only has she been one of the best all-around players since getting into this sport a few years ago, she is also one of the most knowledgeable when it comes to many different aspects in the world of sports, such as coaching, sports psychology, management, and basically the sickest of tricks. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a huge honor to introduce to the show the one and only Irina Tereschenko. Hey, Irina, thanks for joining us tonight.
Hi, guys. What an intro. Thank you. And thank you for having me on the show. I've been waiting since last week, and finally, my dreams are coming true. My pickleball dreams are coming true.
Nice. Glad to hear it. Sorry for the wait, but I think it'll be well worth the wait. Some technical issues had caused us some trouble. We wished it would have been an April Fool's Day joke, but unfortunately, it was true. But here we are. Glad to have you here. And actually, a lot of people don't know this, but you were originally supposed to join us in person for the Eddie and Webby show during this year's U.S. Open. But unfortunately, as everybody knows by now, the U.S. Open was canceled due to the coronavirus pandemic. But we figured let's try to make the best of the current situation and keep things rolling with the show. So I'm glad it did work out for you to join us tonight. So this should be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. It's a very small cancellation compared to actually being at the US Open and seeing your studio in person. And it's technically a third reschedule, but I'm all good. Adversity is no problem.
That's right. That's right. So first off, how have you been during these crazy times that our nation and the entire world is facing? Are things going okay for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for asking. Just trying to hang out and keep things in perspective and maybe just catch up on some of the things that I was kind of behind on during the regular pickleball season.
All right. Nice. So before we dive into the pickleball discussion, I'd actually like to learn a bit about your background. Do you mind telling us a bit about like where you were born and raised?
Oh, you guys want to go all the way back? All right.
All the way back. All
right, let me set it up for you. It was a cold winter day in March in 1983, Soviet Russia. My parents just got back from the parade at the Red Square, and then my mother was ready to give birth. And that's when I was born, on March 3rd, 83. But actually, I had a great childhood growing up in Moscow, Russia. I was into sports pretty much from the very beginning. My parents tell me I had a lot of energy, so they wanted to keep me entertained, and I tried a bunch of different sports like figure skating, gymnastics, soccer, and finally landed on tennis. And I played tennis all the way through my school years and enjoyed some international competitions until I made it all the way to the United States. And I'm hanging out with you guys.
Very nice. Nice little history there. I like it. So before you got into pickleball, you had quite a tennis background. Is that true?
Yeah, tennis definitely helped. It was a great sport. I think my first attraction to tennis, I kind of realized it was awesome in 1991 when my coaches took my friends and I on a tennis trip to England, to London. And I was hanging out there for 10 days doing an exchange program, visiting different sites and exploring the city. And I was away from my parents, hanging out with friends, and my coaches were super cool. So I thought tennis and international competition is definitely a thing for me. And kind of from there, I just stayed within the system and played a bunch of tournaments, competed internationally, and played some college tennis, and kind of had a really, really good time. And actually, a very curious thing about my tennis experience was that my friends and I, that was basically the level. People determined how cool you were if you could play mini tennis at all the international competitions. So you try to find some new friends among juniors from different countries and then play mini tennis games just using the service boxes, if you guys are familiar with how the court looks. And usually you create your own rules, and you can play teams or you can play singles, and you really try to explore different touches, deception, and kind of. So what I really wanted to do is play mini tennis instead of practice and drill. And when I discovered pickleball, I basically thought that was playing tournaments of mini tennis, and I thought that was a fantastic opportunity for me, because that's what I wanted to do from age 10.
Nice. So you mentioned making up your own rules. Did you ever come up with any like super crazy rules, or did anybody you play with come up with like just super crazy rules at all?
One popular game was you had to receive a ball with a tennis racket and bounce it up with your strings, and then quickly flip a racket and hit the ball over the net using your grip. So it was like a two-touch game, which sometimes we use in pickleball as like one of the warm-up or hand-eye coordination drills. But yeah, in tennis, we just kind of flipped from the strings to the grip and hit over. That was one of the rules.
Nice. So do you still play tennis quite a bit these days, or not so much?
Unfortunately not. I kind of crossed over into the watching tennis stage of my life. A lot of people I know combine tennis and pickleball successfully, like Jennifer Dawson or maybe some of the people you know. But for me, I have the biggest problem with the size distortion and of the equipment. So it's difficult to play tennis.
Gotcha. All right. So earlier I mentioned how the U.S. Open of pickleball was canceled, unfortunately. Did you hear that for the first time since World War II, Wimbledon has been canceled due to this whole coronavirus thing?
Yes, I had huge play. That was very, very unfortunate. And part of the reason was, of course, public safety, but also, I don't know if you guys heard some of the posts, some of the posts on social media. They basically didn't have enough volunteers to maintain the grass for Wimbledon. So that was kind of the second piece to the puzzle. Public safety and the grass could not have been in the pristine condition. And as you know, Wimbledon really values quality and tradition, so that was basically going to be unacceptable. The quality of grass was not going to be up to the par.
Oh wow, yeah, I did not hear that part about it. Yeah, it's crazy. Everything about this is crazy. These are definitely weird times that we're currently living in, but yeah, hopefully people will find some joy in tonight's podcast. We got a lot of fun things in store. In fact, one of the things I wanted to talk about, you actually brought up some interesting information about some snacks that you're a fan of, and it goes along very well with something we recently talked about. Eddie and I talked about our 6 favorite beers that we would want to have with us if we were stranded on a deserted island, and you told us about 6 of your favorite beer snacks to enjoy while enjoying a nice, tasty brew. And I think now would be a good time to go over those. Eddie, do you happen to have the first photograph ready? I think one of the snacks that Irina talked about was the Boulder Canyon Kettle cooked chips. I think there they are right there. So what about these do you like so much?
Well, I think the current trend, and I've been telling like Gizmo Pickleball about this, the current trend in nutrition and in food, that now you use alternative oils, you use alternative flour and different ingredients. So I think the availability of different varieties of different types of chips on top of our traditional ones that we're kind of used to from the Cold War days, the potato chips and that kind of stuff. Now we have a huge variety, and these chips, I like them because I think one was made with coconut oil, one was made with avocado oil, and another one is olive oil. So maybe a little bit better ingredients than some of the traditional chips, and a variety of new flavors. That's why this is one of my favorite beer snacks.
So something I've got to ask.
Have you guys tried those?
I haven't tried those specific ones. I've had kettle cooked chips. I do love the kettle cooked style chip. But one thing I got to ask you right now, because I'm sure we're going to get comments. Like, are you sponsored by any of these companies that we're about to talk about? Because I don't think you are, but I want you to confirm that.
That is correct. I am not sponsored by any of these companies, but I am accepting proposals.
There we go.
Sponsorship
There we go. So yeah, I just want to get that out there. We're not sponsored. We're just we like to discuss things that we are passionate about and that we thoroughly enjoy, and that we think all of you might enjoy. So hopefully you can get something out of this. So the second one that you mentioned that you love that I found interesting was the goat milk brie, and I think we have a picture of that. That sounds pretty interesting. What makes you like that so much?
Well, first of all, the beautiful drawing on the logo. I mean, simple, yet straight to the point.
Right?
I think this cheese, actually, if sometimes you could be short on bread or the crackers, this cheese is good enough to enjoy it straight up with the beer, which is very, very rare for a cheese. And depending on how ripe it is, the level of softness varies. So you can kind of experience this cheese in almost like 5 or 6 different variations, depending on how ripe this cheese is. What kind of beer would you pair this cheese with?
So you know what? I think what sounds good with that would be a nice pale ale, and that actually is what I'm drinking tonight. I'm drinking a pale ale type. This is Two Hearted Ale. It's actually an American IPA. And I feel like that would pair very well. In fact, I thought it would pair so well that I went to the store and I actually bought some goat's milk cheese right here. It's not exactly the brie type stuff you were talking about, but it's very similar. It's a very soft textured cheese here. I've actually never had this before, so I'm going to try it for the first time right now. I'm going to cut it up. While I do that, while I prepare it, Eddie, go ahead and put up the next picture. Let's go with the Thai lime and chili cashews. Let's look at those, and Irina can talk about those while I prepare my my goat's milk cheese.
Well, I mean, this is again one of my personal favorites, and again, it comes from Trader Joe's, and I've traveled abroad just a little bit, and had an opportunity to experience different cuisines, and people are huge on different types of nuts in Asia. So this is an Asian take on traditional cashews. And kind of heads up, if you eat them, your hands are going to get very, very sticky because the chili paste on the cashews sticks to your fingers. But then chili also gives it a little bit additional of spice and, of course, a refreshing hint of lime. I'm going to say this snack will go with any beer on your list, maybe with the exception of something like really dark and smoky. What do you guys think?
Okay. Eddie, I think you should chime in on this. What do you think would pair best with a Thai lime and chili cashew like that?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely would want to stay away from something that was either very dark, like you'd want to stay away from any stouts or porters or anything like that. And I would think you'd also want to stay away from anything that's very dank, like a West Coast style IPA, because I feel like a lot of the hot bitterness is going to make a little bit of conflict with some of the spicy flavors. So I would go with something more like maybe a German lager or even an American pale ale like the Bell's Two Hearted would probably be another good one.
Very nice. Sounds
Absolutely.
good. So I have my my goat's milk cheese all prepared to eat, and I just want to describe a little bit. So it's very soft. When I open this thing, it kind of squeezed out of the top. It kind of reminded me of like a thing of frosting, the way it just kind of easily just would squeeze out of the thing that the cheese was in. So I put it on a cracker. I feel like that's probably a good thing to put it on. So I got a nice generous amount. Now, does that seem like a good amount or too much? Not enough? What do you think about that portion size?
Well, I think it's perfect. You get 10 out of 10 on the placement.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
On the cracker.
Right. It's got a strong aroma. Pretty good though. I mean, like it's cheesy. I mean, it's kind of what you would expect cheese to smell like. All right, here we go. My first time ever trying goat's milk cheese.
Ooh.
First time with the goat.
I like
Okay.
goat cheese on a salad too. That's always a good one for me.
That is really good. Yeah, I'm liking that. It's the texture kind of reminds me of like cream cheese. Like if you get a thing of Philadelphia cream cheese, very soft, very smooth, very creamy. That is really good. I would absolutely buy that again. That was that's a great suggestion. Nice. Now, let me make sure that it does pair well with the Two Hearted IPA. And the answer is yes, it does pair well. I would I would highly recommend the combination of goat's milk cheese or goat's milk brie with a nice pale ale or Two Hearted IPA. Very good suggestion.
I'm gonna venture it probably goes well with the sour beers as well. Any type of cheese, any type of brie cheese.
Very nice. Let's talk about, I would say, one of the most interesting things that you mentioned in your list, and that was shirakaku dried smoked squid.
Well,
What is
I
this
mean, I
all
think
about?
Daniel Moore has definitely tried this, and a bunch of other players. But I think it's a traditional. I used to live in Seattle, and in Seattle there is a big Asian community, so you can go to a variety of stores and markets and get some traditional snacks. So I just like to go there and just pick something up that maybe I haven't tasted before. So the characteristics of this snack is a chewy texture that gives you good momentum and good continuity. Also a great repetitive snack. And of course you have a little bit of saltiness. And I picked the spicy one again, but it definitely comes in smoked or original styles. My pairing with this snack will probably be, again, one of the lagers, one of the light, maybe Asian beers like Singha or Tsingtao or Kirin. But I wonder if you guys ever tried anything like this.
Well, actually,
I-
do you remember Cherry Blossom? It's an Asian restaurant that we used to sing karaoke at in Michigan, where when I used to live up there. And do you remember they would have the little squid snack? So we have had it.
Yeah, you're
before.
right. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, I didn't think I had ever had that, but yeah, the karaoke place we used to go to, it was an awesome sushi place that had karaoke, and yeah, they had the totally forgot they had the dried squid there. That is good stuff. Yeah.
And we used to pair them with sake bombs, and so I do agree with you that
Oh, yeah.
a little bit of sake and an Asian light lager. A Sapporo was always my go-to at the Asian restaurants, and I felt like that would pair very well with that.
Very nice, very nice. So the next thing on the list is something called Comté, something I'm not familiar with, but it looks like I don't know, is that like a type of a cheese or what is that?
Yes, this is another cheese, but this is a hard cheese. French, probably Costco probably has the best version, but you can find the same cheese in almost any supermarket or grocery store. It has a very distinct flavor. It's hard, as I mentioned, but also what you don't know about this cheese is fantastic if toasted. So if you have one of those small like baking ovens, or maybe you want to just stick it in the oven on top of a rye bread or French baguette, it would be a fantastic addition for that. I would say it goes with any beer except a porter again.
Nice. Those blasted porters, they just don't seem to pair well with a lot of these good snacks. So, Eddie, is it true that you actually? What is that? What do you have there, Eddie? What is that tray of in front of your face right now?
Well, I was able to find some here at Publix, and as you can see, I have a very nice presentation here with a little bit of thin crackers just to give it a little crunch, not a lot of flavor, just a crunch to balance it out. And doing some research, I found out that this goes very well with darker German lagers, not like a stout with a lot of roastiness, but like an Oktoberfest or a Dunkel, or with a Belgian double or triple. And I've found from a local brewery here in Florida, Coppertail, the Unholy American Triple Ale. It's supposed to be a Belgian triple style beer, and it's supposed to go very well with that. So I'm very excited to be able to try this pairing.
Very nice. I'm excited to hear how it goes.
Well done, Eddie.
Oh, thank you. I feel like I needed to make my beer snacks a little more sophisticated, so thank you for helping with that.
And I got to tell you,
Imagine
this goat
right now, I think.
I got to tell you, this goat milk cheese that I'm eating, I am absolutely loving it. I will definitely be purchasing this and enjoying it with a tasty beer. All right, Eddie. So what are your initial thoughts on the Comté?
Wonderful. I will tell you that this cheese, it's a funky cheese. I've been wondering through the last 10 minutes or so of it sitting out whether I forgot to wash my feet or not, because I've been getting little hints of funk. But honestly, I think that the smellier the cheese, the better. And so I'm definitely enjoying it. And this Belgian triple is going perfect with it.
Very nice. So, Irina, I got to tell you, our dining experience during this show is going a lot better than it did when Morgan Evans was on the show, and we tried Foster's beer paired with Vegemite. That was not a good experience.
Yeah, my condolences for them.
Yeah, this is a great experience. I highly recommend what we're trying here tonight. I do not recommend what happened when Morgan Evans was on the show. However, I do have to admit, I do like Vegemite now. I've been eating it somewhat regularly. I learned how to eat it properly. You got to make sure you put a good amount of butter on a piece of toast and then just a very tiny, tiny bit of Vegemite, and then it's actually pretty good, and I actually find myself craving it from time to time. But what we did during the show, just straight up Vegemite on crackers, or like Eddie did, just a spoonful of Vegemite. We cannot recommend that. In fact, we highly suggest you avoid doing anything like that. But what we're doing here tonight is awesome. We do have one more thing, and to be honest, this was probably the most interesting thing that you sent me. I wasn't sure if you were joking or if this is something you do actually enjoy. Eddie, can you put up the last picture? It's kind of like a canned fish of some sort. I'm not sure what that says because I think it might be in Russian or something. What exactly is this?
Yeah, this is definitely a Russian snack, and it's a small fish marinated in oil. Usually you get it from the Baltic Sea, and it has a pretty rich texture. It's probably difficult to eat it by itself, so the best thing to do is to put it on bread, especially if you have dark rye bread or any kind of like pumpernickel bread. That would work fantastic. And it's often present on Russian tables during celebrations like Thanksgiving or just weekend family gatherings. And that's a canned food staple that doesn't matter if the times are good or times are bad, you always eat it and it just never changes.
Nice. So is it much different than sardines? I mean, when I look at that, I think of sardines. Is it different than sardines, or basically a different take on sardines?
I think it's a different take on sardines, and the fish tastes like slightly different. It's maybe a little bit more smoky. And even if you get smoked sardines, I think it's maybe just a different type of fish that you use. But the idea is exactly the same. Okay. And you kind of eat it like sardines.
Nice. So I think I would enjoy that. I'm actually a big fan of sardines. I do enjoy a good sardine from time to time. Some people, mostly my family, they look at me in disgust. My wife and daughters are disgusted anytime I bust out the sardines, but I would absolutely try some of those if I were to see them. But yeah, this concludes our beer snack segment. That's a first for us here on the Eddie and Webby Show. We love to push the envelope here in the pickleball podcast world. Have you ever talked so much about snacks during an interview before?
No, I have not, but I know you guys talk so much about beer. I kind of thought that maybe we need to expand a little bit. You know, and some people can't drink 2 or 3 beers without eating anything. So I think we need to take care of everybody and offer some pairings.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. I thought it was fun, and I definitely enjoyed what I tried. So thanks for the suggestions there. So I know you kind of talked a little bit earlier about getting into pickleball after playing tennis, but can you tell us a little bit more about how you first like really got into pickleball? Who got you into it, how it went for you, and how it went from there as far as like your first taste of pickleball?
Well, one name you guys need to remember is Chris Miller. He's the person who got me into pickleball through Denise. And the first time I played pickleball was in Bellevue, Washington. And I played against Chris Miller and Billy Jacobson, Hall of Famer. And I absolutely hated pickleball. And I had no touch, no feel coming from the ball and my paddle. And I was on the mission to never play this sport again. But at the end of the rec session, Chris Miller proceeded to say that he bought my friend and I flights to the Tournament of Champions, and he arranged, which is in Utah, which is actually one of the Grand Slam events. So he got us flights from Seattle to go to the Tournament of Champions. He arranged housing for us, and all we need to do is pay an entry fee, play the tournament, and we can win prize money. And if we win, we can take Chris back for the flights, and if we don't, no big deal. So I look at my friend Denise, and I'm like, who is this guy? And can we trust him, or is this some kind of phishing scheme? So we decided to try it out, and we did go to the Tournament of Champions. Shortly after that first meeting, I played pickleball 2 times before I played my first Grand Slam.
Wow. Wow, that's pretty amazing. 2 times playing pickleball and then Tournament of Champions. That's pretty wild. So what, like, were you in? What level did you play during Tournament of Champions? Was that the pro level at the time, or what was what level was it?
Yeah, basically turned pro the first time I touched my paddle. And I guess another metaphor to this experience could be when people are learning how to swim in the swimming pool, and some people start in the shallow end and they do the board progression and all that kind of stuff, and some people just get thrown in the deep end and they have to figure out how to swim. So I think Chris Miller definitely took the second approach, and we just got tossed into the deep end of the pickleball swimming pool and
Nice.
had to figure it out, which it was pretty close to drowning. First event, women's doubles. Didn't go so well. We went 2 and out. I didn't know how to keep score. I kept serving before the referee called the score. I kept serving from the wrong side. So it was kind of very chaotic from that perspective. And then our opponents were getting super pumped up. And like, why are these people getting pumped up with some kind of random pickleball tournament? So that was very quick. And then I played a little bit of rec games, and the next event was mixed doubles. My mixed doubles partner was Matt Stubb, super cool guy, great partner, and we actually did pretty well. Won a few matches before we got taken out. And next event was singles, so again, played some rec games, figured out the strategy, and had a good run there, and I was actually able to pay Chris Miller back for the flights, believe it or not.
Nice. So, as most people know, you've had a lot of success in the world of pro pickleball. Are there any specific gold medals that you earned that stand out to you as the most important of your career so far?
Well, I think every professional in any sport always tries to win a Grand Slam event. So I think I would say winning nationals and US Open back-to-back with Lucy in women's pro doubles was super fun. And then winning nationals singles a few years ago. So those were probably 3 most memorable medals that I've gotten so far. Would love to get a mixed gold medal in the Grand Slam, but I think there's plenty of time for that and plenty of opportunity.
Very nice. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it's just a matter of time. I mean, you're an amazing player. I love watching you play, and it's going to happen, no doubt about it. I can definitely see that happening.
Thank you.
But
you just gotta keep using the right snacks. And we're good to
that's
go.
right. Yeah, exactly. And speaking of snacks, I feel like I wanna go eat some more snacks. So I think now is a good time for me to take a break from asking you questions. And I think now would be a great time to go to the hottest new segment in all of pickleball podcasting, and that is pros asking pros questions.
That's right. And I did want to mention to all the questions that are coming in through Facebook and YouTube, we'll definitely be getting to those here towards the end of the segment. So keep them coming in because Irina is ready to answer those questions as well. But before we get to that, as Webby had mentioned, we want to give an opportunity for some of Irina's peers, pros in the pickleball world, to ask them questions. And this first one here comes from Adam Stone.
Hey Irina, I hope all is well. As you know, one of my favorite two-shot combinations in all of pickleball is a third-shot drive from the baseline followed by an aggressive poach at the kitchen, often referred to as the shake and bake. In my opinion, you're one of the best in the entire game at both of these shots. Irina, can you tell me another two-shot combination that's one of your favorites? Stay safe.
Well, hi, Adam. Thank you for your question. You were very serious when you were asking it. And I also think, Adam, you're very good at this combination, shake and bake. And when I play doubles with you, we just try to shake and bake as much as we can. One combination I'm particularly fond of is a drop shot and lob combination, or a deep shot and a drop shot combination. So kind of putting your opponents on the defense a little bit and pushing them to the baseline, whether using a lob, an offensive lob from the kitchen, or maybe they kind of popped up the dink, so you attack them from the kitchen line, they back up and they stay back, and that's when you fake the next shot and just drop shot them. Which, I don't know, some people maybe consider it's a little bit counterintuitive because you're often told to keep your opponents back. But I think not everybody can run forward. If you execute your drop shot well, people, even if they get to it, they can't really attack you. And maybe you might not win the point right away, but if you keep doing it a few times, you actually get your opponents tired, so you might earn some unforced errors a little bit later in the match. So I am a big fan of that combination.
I like it. I think when Webby and I play, our favorite two-hit combination is get it over the net twice in a row. So
yes,
we're
absolutely
looking to advance to your level one day where we put some strategy around it. Right, Webby?
You guys can't do a shake and bake?
Couldn't agree more.
I want to try it, but yeah.
Yeah. One of these days we'll do it for sure. Once we master what Eddie said and get the 2 hits over the net combo, then we'll work on the shake and bake.
2 in a row would be good.
Right.
Well, that perfectly fits actually into your plan because shake and bake is only 2 shots. So you get the shake over the net and then you get the bake over the net. I think
there we
that's
go.
Right up your alley.
That's right. We got to start practicing that once we're back on the courts, right, Webby?
That's right.
Love it. Second question here is from none other than our friend Andrea Coop.
Hey Irina, it's Andrea and Callie. We miss you. We hope you get back here for Beer City this year. We hope everyone gets back here for Beer City this year. But for those of you who don't know, the last 2 years, Irina has stayed with me and Callie and my husband, Brandon. And Brandon and Callie and Irina have a tradition after play. When they come back to the house each night, Brandon and Irina drink one of Brandon's homemade brews from his kegerator that's in my living room. And then they sit down on the couch here and watch TV in the living room. And Irina likes to introduce him to new shows. Last year's new show was Workaholics. I hate that show. I hate it. It's so stupid. She tells me she's got a new show to introduce him to this year. And just so y'all know, last year he watched all of Workaholics until like December. So I can only imagine what this one is. Irina, what is that show? I need to know. Bye.
Wow, great question. Well, first of all, let me rewind a little bit and thank Andrea for her wonderful hospitality. I always have a great time at her house and at her tournament, and I think that's kind of how you guys started a little bit, was around this tournament. And Andrea was actually the first person to tell me about your podcast. I just thought you guys were lame at first, and I was like, yeah, whatever. But now I was like, oh my God, please get me on, please get me on. 3 million. But yes, so I was thinking maybe next time I see Brandon, one of the shows I can introduce him to is Eastbound and Down. Have you guys heard about it?
Mm-hmm.
I have. I haven't watched it, but I've heard a lot of great things. A lot of my friends are big fans of that show, and I got to say, I disagree with Andrea about Workaholics being lame. I absolutely love the show Workaholics, so that was a great suggestion by you.
Yeah, it's kind of like an office humor, but for people who maybe just graduated or still feel like they just graduated college, which seems like all three of us, right?
Yep.
Yep. Exactly. Yep.
But yeah, maybe Eastbound and Down is a little bit more of a take on sports, because it follows Kenny Powers, a former baseball player, trying to his adventures through minor leagues and trying to get back to the top. I know one person who's a big fan of this show is Matt Wright. He can always hit you up for a quote from Kenny Powers, but it definitely has some amazing one-liners. And it also, I think one of the other criteria is to make sure Andrea fully enjoys the benefits of it. It has like 6 or 7 seasons. I don't want to introduce anything to her husband that just has 1 or 2 seasons. I want to go
right.
And 20 episodes per season, 7 seasons. Just keep going nonstop.
Yeah, she's gonna be really happy with you after you introduce that to him. He's gonna binge watch it for a couple months straight. Huh?
Right. And speaking of Workaholics, something that I say regularly because of that show, at the end of every episode, somebody says, "Nice." And I pretty much have said that ever since that show.
Well played. Yes, that's. I noticed that, by the way. Very nice.
You stole it. You ripped it off. Well, another great question. From our next pro, we actually have 2 questions. I'm going to play them separately, but these are going to be coming from none other than Wes Gabrielson.
Hey, Irina. Hope you're doing well in this unique time in all of our lives. I've got 2 quick questions for you. Number 1, what is your favorite place to play in pickleball?
So reg games or tournaments? What do you think he means by that question?
Why not both?
Yeah, let's hear both.
Okay.
I would love to hear both.
Okay, we'll start with reg games. So currently I live in Tucson, Arizona, and we have a super awesome pickleball community here, kind of spearheaded by Sean Rickard, Ricky Buckets, Ricky 5-0, all the same person. And Joey Frias sometimes shows up here. But to those guys, we have a huge array of players of all levels. And as I mentioned, I live right next to Tucson Racket Club. So sometimes I go play over there and just pop in on like a morning league without warning and hang out with some people and hang out with KK. And also we have people that plays pickleball at the tennis facility at the University of Arizona. So there's some professors there. And their friends, and sometimes we also recruit the coaching staff from the University of Arizona men's and women's tennis programs. Those guys, obviously high-level tennis players, super competitive, and then they actually play against some real pickleball folks of different levels, so super fun. So I love playing in Tucson, and another great place to get some games, and also you can pop in kind of any night and find some action, is Bobby Riggs Tennis Club in Encinitas, California. It's kind of Steve and Jennifer Dawson and Kellen Dawson, they operate this club, and it's a super laid back, like California surfer style community where everybody gets along. You have a nice cafe, nice set of courts, and you can always find some awesome games with legends that you haven't seen maybe for like 2 or 3 months come for the place. So yeah, love going there. And then third favorite place for rec games would probably be Pickleball Station in Kent, Washington. Again, I used to live in Seattle, and a lot of my friends work at the Pickleball Station. Brian Ashworth from Sick Trx is there, and Nick Williams, Glenn Pearson, people from Portland. They all show up to get games, and it's indoor, so very good opportunities for Seattle weather, because sometimes you can see some rainy days, and also those guys are pretty busy, so I usually try to go a little bit earlier during the day to avoid all the traffic, but always great to hang there, catch up with friends. I think those are the main criteria with me. Not just play pickleball, but have a chance to hang out and catch up with friends and just do nothing like we're doing right now.
That's right. That's great, though. I mean, you gotta include the atmosphere, the people, the social aspect of it into that, which is perfect, right? Exactly what you were saying.
And for tournaments is hard. I mean, I'll start with the Open, because again, it's a wonderful view there, and Paul and Susan Richards, they do a fantastic job. But probably one of my favorite things that we all took up last year was the player party at the brewery. And you guys, I think, did like a number of hours of broadcasting live from there.
Yeah, we got kicked out.
So we got kicked out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they
we closed the place out.
Yeah.
And I think you broke up a little bit, but I think you're talking about the Beer City Open. Is that correct?
Yes, Beer City Open in Grand Rapids, Michigan. One of my favorite tournaments to play. Absolutely. Of course, I like nationals. Coming from a tennis background, I've always gone to watch the Indian Wells BNP Paribas tournament at Indian Wells, and it's a premier event in the world of tennis. It's one of the most popular events among all the players and spectators. So for me to be able to play pickleball at that same facility is amazing. Everything is uniform. You know, you don't see any banners like hanging with a zip tie. Every banner looks the same. You go to really nice air-conditioned restrooms. So just kind of the magnitude and the appreciation for being able to play pickleball in a world-class facility, and all the effort that the tournament organizers put into making it a great experience for everybody is amazing. Let's see. I can go on and on about a bunch of tournaments, and I want to actually give a shout out to all the tournament directors and all the tour directors who are kind of stuck in the limbo right now. I think you guys have done a great job in the past of bringing us together for the tournaments. Every tournament you host again, over and over, you make improvements. So just, I know everybody in pickleball, including professional players and players of all other levels, they're looking forward to getting back. So I think just hang in there. We're all going to be back more hungry than ever, competing. And I think the atmosphere, like tournaments like US Open, a Saturday night atmosphere, or a Bobby Riggs, SoCal Classic atmosphere, all that is going to come back like tenfold when people finally get their hands back on pickleball and competition.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. There's no doubt that the demand is continuing to go up. So I agree with you there 100%.
Yeah. Oh, can you imagine though? Like once we can finally get back out on the courts, it's going to be a madhouse. Like people are just going to be. I feel like everybody's just going to be hugging and rejoicing, and it's just going to be a party for like the first 3 months that pickleball can be played again in public.
Yes, I think it's going to be unprecedented sense of camaraderie, and just everybody will be motivated to compete and to represent.
Love it. I'm waiting for that time. That's going to be great.
Yes.
Why don't we go on to question number 2 here from Wes Gabrielson.
But the most important question that I have for you: who is the greatest Russian author of all time? I'm going to give you two choices. Is it Dostoevsky or is it Gogol? Take care.
Ooh. Well, first of all, this is the more important question.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, this is what all the pickleball fans are dying to know. Like, this is the reason we had you on the show tonight, because everybody in pickleball wants to know the answer to this question.
Well, let me ask you guys, do you know any of these authors or any of the works by these authors? Or maybe the audience can pitch in here? Dostoevsky or Gogol?
I mean, I did minor in Russian literature in college, so I feel like my opinion shouldn't matter. I should take myself out of it because of how educated I am in the topic.
I'll answer it. I was going to say the first one. Whatever he said the first option was, that's what my answer was going to be.
Was that serious, Eddie? You minored in Russian literature?
No, what I was trying to do was cover up my own ignorance of Russian literature by saying that and not have to tell you that I don't know the works of either one of them.
Got it. Well, all right. So I would say my favorite is Dostoevsky. Probably the book that he's most famous for is Crime and Punishment, which kind of reads like a murder story, but at a deeper level is a contemplation on good and evil and judgment. So he kind of argues that maybe judgment is the worst human sin that anybody can kind of engage in. So without giving anything away, but also Dostoevsky has a number of other really excellent novels and short stories. The Gambler is another one of them. Dostoevsky himself was a gambler, and he frequented resorts in Germany and France, like Baden-Baden and Monaco, and played roulette. So in his short story, The Gambler, he talks about a little bit about the psychology of gambling and takes us through the experience of one young gentleman who kind of engages in this activity. So those are, again, reads like a thriller. That's the beauty about Dostoevsky. Gogol is super cool, which is the other author that Wes mentioned. His novels I had to reread twice, because I read one of his first novels that everybody has to study in school, and I go back to class, and the teacher tells us it was a comedy, and I didn't catch any of that, so I go back and reread it, and then it finally made sense. So I think you have to pay maybe a little bit more attention to detail when you're experiencing Gogol, but he has some excellent novels like The Dead Souls and some short stories.
Well, there you go. There is our Russian literature lesson for the day. That's a debut on the Eddie and Webby podcast. I don't think we've ever discussed Russian literature before, have we?
No, that's two debuts today. We had the Russian literature discussion, and then earlier our snack discussion. I mean, this is a groundbreaking episode. Love it.
Lots of firsts. Very good. That was a great question. Our next question actually comes from somebody that by the name of Ben Johns. I don't know if you guys heard about this guy. I'm
never heard of him.
Familiar with him, but are you familiar with him, Irina?
I think he's part of the Sick Trx crew, but sometimes he goes in and out of it. Sometimes we cannot find him. For the entire 2018, he was missing from the Sick Trx.
Gotcha. So he's riding your coattails to success. Okay. I'm glad we got that squared away. But here we go. This is a question from none other than Ben Johns.
What's up, Irina? What I'd like to know is, if you could play pickleball with any celebrity, who would it be? Also, what is your normal pre-game routine?
All right, let me go big here. And for the celebrity, I'm just gonna say Barack and Michelle Obama.
Okay.
Maybe both of them. I'll start out with Barack and then hit some balls with Michelle. But I just like how his laid back personality. So I want to see if I can rattle him a little bit.
Oh, that's a good one.
with some of the Sick Trx. Let's see, and then my pre-match routines, probably routines, not rituals. I'm not too superstitious. Are you guys superstitious?
No, not at all.
No, I'll knock on wood from time to time, but that's about it.
All right, so we'll stick with routines then. Kind of depends on the conditions of the tournament and maybe like the weather or how many matches have I played. But I think I'm trying to accomplish 3 objectives: hydrate, have energy, and go to the bathroom. And I think that's what happens between matches, especially if you get on the roll at a tournament and your name is being called like every 20 minutes after you're done. That's really all the time you have for. If I have a little bit more time, then maybe check in with my friends, see if Ben Johns is taking a nap himself, which is actually one of his pre-match routines. Usually comes in after maybe like a 4th or a 5th match of the day. He likes to take a nap, and a couple of times I played with him. I saw him taking a nap, and I just let him. One time it was after a loss, and he was like a little upset. I was like, okay, I'll just give him some space. Next thing I know, he's taking a nap. Then he wakes up, and we're just crushing people in the neck through the back draw.
Nice.
I love it.
Well, speaking of Ben Johns, do you ever indulge in the dozen donuts that he and Matt Wright typically will bring to a tournament?
Usually not. I might indulge in the trail mix that Matt Goebel brings to every tournament. I don't know if you guys knew that interesting fact about Matt Goebel. Every tournament he brings a homemade, well, almost every tournament is a homemade. Sometimes it's a bought trail mix, but he loves it. That's definitely his pre-match refreshing, some trail mix. So I'd rather have that than the donuts.
Probably a little healthier, a little better for you for long-term energy, right?
Yes.
Well, our next question, actually, I'm going to go ahead and bring it on from Facebook. Now, he's technically a pro because he says he's made $80 playing pickleball, but that's debatable. He's the self-proclaimed people's champ, and that's none other than John Davidson. And the reason I'm bringing up this question is because it has to do with our previous question asker, Ben Johns. And he says, I've noticed that Ben Johns is wearing shorter shorts nowadays. Do you think that was the key for him to start beating Tyson consistently in singles?
Yes, I did notice that as well, that Ben started wearing shorter shorts. And I mean, that's pretty courageous on Ben's part because he is trying to beat Tyson in his own game. You know, because Tyson has the shortest shorts, the tightest shorts, and the smoothest legs. So Ben took the challenge head on. I actually want to follow up and started shaving his legs because I think that really will help the consistency, the trifecta there.
All right, so shorter shorts and shaving the legs. Got it.
Noted.
I'll do that before my next singles tournament to try and get a leg up on everybody.
Yeah.
Speaking of singles, our next question actually comes from none other than Frank Anthony Davis.
Hey, Irina. I hope you're doing well and staying busy during this interesting period. I was wondering, what is your favorite shot to hit in doubles, and what is your favorite shot to hit in singles, and why?
My favorite shot to hit in singles is inside out slice approach. So I'll break down the scenario for you. Let's say I serve and I was fortunate enough to serve well, and my opponent returns kind of shorter toward the middle of the court, and my opponent doesn't approach the net, which I don't know if you guys notice is actually been happening more and more in women's singles, at least. And then I kind of have that ball at court, and instead of maybe running around taking a forehand, I take a ball with a slice and I hit it inside in, which is almost down the line, and I try to chip it maybe like a little bit shorter, make it curve, and kind of close the net behind it. I think the reason I like it is because you can't really hit it as much in doubles. I mean, you can, but the effects of it and the benefits of hitting that shot are not as evident in doubles because your opponent is only covering half a court, and rarely your opponent doesn't come in to the net after the return, if that makes sense, in doubles. Let's see. And then my favorite shot to hit in doubles is probably one of the Sick Trx. So either an Ernie or a flying Ernie or around the post. I guess they can all be hit in singles. I probably had more success with around the post in singles. I did hit an Ernie in singles one time. There's actually Carl Schmidt with Pro Pickleball took a series of photos in that, and the sequence basically goes, I hit an Ernie, and then I'm like on the full sprint, and then the next photo is like me going like this. because I just got completely passed. I think I was playing Lucy. I wasn't even close. But I know a few people who actually do hit single Ernies in singles. I think and Tyler Loon and Ben Johns. And I think maybe Tyson and Kyle, they've kind of been able to hit Ernies in singles. You kind of have to go for a winner for the most part, where in doubles, if you don't hit a winner on an Ernie, your partner's got your back. But in singles, it pretty much has to be the winning shot. Otherwise, at least I am not fast enough to cover the rest of the court.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely seeing it happen a lot more, which is crazy.
Yeah, even you guys attempted some Sick Trx.
Oh no!
And I love the Slick Trx. That was well. When you figured out you couldn't do the Sick Trx, you invented your own ones, which is smart.
We wanted our own brand of tricks, and they are pretty slick. So, but you're right.
Some people say that Slick Trx might make Sick Trx obsolete. I hate to tell you, that's the word on the street.
Obsolete is the word.
I think that's what they said.
Sick Trx is going down.
Well, I think, challenge accepted. Maybe we have to invent some new ones. But I think overall, I don't know if you guys agree with me or not, but at tournaments you kind of watch people of all levels compete, and I think I have to say that it's super, super fun and super interesting to see that players of all levels are actually using Sick Trx like Ernies and ATPs in their game. So that's amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of becoming a course to see them.
Yeah, I love it. Well, when Eddie and I were doing we were live streaming the Florida Grand Slam tournament, it was crazy how many Ernies were attempted just in one rally. I mean, there were Ernies, ATPs, and I kid you not, almost every ATP was blocked. Like, that's not something that we used to see. Like, if somebody hit an ATP like a year or two ago, that was like almost a guaranteed point. But I'm kidding. I kid you not, almost every ATP got blocked, and it just made the rallies so much more exciting and fun to watch. Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the main reasons I like pickleball is the opportunities for being creative with your shots. And you can execute all these Sick Trx almost regardless of how you hold your paddle. You can figure out how to hit all of those shots, and I'm glad to see people experimenting and being successful and progressing and defending all those shots. So way to go.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely think it makes the game more exciting, and I feel like it'll help bring more spectators to the sport and get the exposure that pickleball deserves. So yeah, definitely big kudos to you and the Sick Trx crew for making this stuff become kind of like the norm lately.
Are you guys intimidated by that? Are you slightly behind the norm?
Well, we like I said before, we pushed the envelope. I mean, Slick Trx is so new. Nobody's doing the Slick Trx yet. Everybody's doing Sick Trx.
Slick Trx, boy.
Boy. So that was awesome. Have you guys had any people like approach you and want to show you their trick? It's like, hey, Eddie, let me show you my tricks.
I haven't. Webby, have you?
Not quite, but Wendy Schwark, who I was supposed to play in a tournament with soon, unfortunately the tournament got canceled, but she has her own version of the Webby shot. It's a little different. It's very similar, but it was very nice. And eventually, Wendy and I will do a tournament together, and it will be a mission of ours to perform the Schwark and the Webby in one rally.
Whoa,
You'll
two
see.
slick tricks in one rally.
Yes. Just wait. It'll happen, and it'll blow everybody's minds.
I love it. Well, our next question actually comes from none other than Christine McGrath.
Hi, Irina. Hi, Irina. We're in California here in quarantine at Caitlin's house. We were asked to give you some questions. So mine is, what is your favorite beverage of choice?
Well, recently it has been the Pickleball juice, which is adrenaline cocktail and electrolyte supreme.
Nice.
But again, my beverage of choice always depends on the weather and the mood. I'm kind of like a chameleon like that. So it can go anywhere from bubble tea, which I might actually enjoy with Christine and Caitlin, to I don't know, to a beer that I might enjoy with Andrea Coop and Brendan, to orange juice that every human enjoys in the morning.
I like all the ones that you've mentioned. So.
Yeah. And like when it comes to even just beer, craft beer in general, it's totally seasonal for me. Like certain times of the year, a certain type of beer is perfect. Other times of the year, that beer might not be so good, but a different style of beer would be perfect. So like the Goza style of beers, I absolutely love Goza style in the hot summer. Like when I'm at the lake and stuff like that. But in the winter, I never really have a craving for it. In the winter, I love a good stout, but in the summer, not so much. So yeah, I mean, the season and the environment absolutely plays a big part in beverage of choice.
I know some people are more consistent. I don't know if you guys noticed, Jay Ryan made a little cameo appearance in that question video. She's a little bit more consistent with her favorite beverages, which probably, if I had to guess, it would be a fizzy mango Malibu drink. That's probably her favorite beverage of choice.
Okay.
Nice.
I'll have to remember that. I always like
All
to know,
365 days of the year.
Yeah. I always like to know what people's drinks are. I think you can learn a lot from people based on what their favorite drinks are. Think about it, right? You meet somebody that might be a little pretentious, right? What are they going to say is their favorite drink? I would say maybe like fine wine or like only a certain brand of bourbon that you can only get at like one particular place.
You're talking about Matt, right now?
I knew you were going to say that because I know Matt likes his bourbon. But no, I'm not talking specifically about him. But then you might meet somebody. It's like, hey, I like craft beer. So, they appreciate they appreciate nice things, but they're not super picky about everything that they like. So you can learn a lot from that.
No, absolutely. What would you guys guess is Simone's favorite beverage of choice?
I feel like Eddie would be much more.
Yeah, no,
I was just saying Eddie should be able to answer this question. Okay, so I just I spent a good amount of time with her recently at the Florida Grand Slam tournament. I don't totally recall seeing her drink a beverage. I feel like it would be something super healthy though. Like I don't know, maybe like is she a juicer? Like I feel like she's the type that juices. like relies a lot on like blended juice drinks for throughout the day. I don't know. I really have no idea. Smoothie. I was going to say smoothie.
I think you're actually right. Very often at US Open, Simone goes to tropical smoothie, and sometimes she brings like smoothies for us. And So you actually might be onto something.
Okay, nice. Actually, so I have something in common with Simone then, because that's actually my go-to. Either my pre-tournament, if I have a tournament that's later in the day, I'll get lunch at Tropical Smoothie. If I have an early morning start for a tournament, then my post-tournament meal is at Tropical Smoothie, where I get a nice detox island green smoothie and a flatbread of some sort.
There you go. That's one of my favorite ones too.
Very nice.
Sometimes. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Irina.
Sometimes Adam Stone comes through town and he stays at our house. So actually, when Adam was here, we do a little bit of juicing. We do beet, carrot, celery, and apple juice. Maybe some ginger, maybe some lemon. But and then usually he comes here for like 2 or 3 days. We play, get ready for a tournament, juice for a little bit, and then go win. That's what we did before California Open.
Maybe that's what we need to start doing, Webby. We need to juice a little more.
We might have to do that. Speaking of Adam Stone, last time that you asked a question for one of these pros asking pros question segments, I believe Adam Stone was kind of lurking in the background. I don't know if you noticed it, but there was somebody lurking in the background of Christine's question. And I think in the next part of the question, you might see that same person lurking in the background if you pay close attention.
That's right. We have our next question from Caitlin Christian.
What Belarusian tennis player do you have a slight obsession with?
Well, hey, Caitlin. I'm glad you spending your time, your break of the professional tennis tour wisely and asking me these awesome questions. But I think the player she's referring to, her name is Irina Sabalenka. She's ranked top 10 in the world. And my friend coaches her, Dmitry Tursunov. And I think the reason I like Sabalenka is because of her tenacious personality and her competitiveness. She hits the ball so hard, and she stays aggressive when it matters most. Like a lot of players tend to get a little bit tight and try to push the ball when times are tough, but she kind of plays her game, stays aggressive, and continues to dictate play when points are at stake. So that's probably what I admire most about her. And obviously she's doing a pretty good job with her social media, so it's kind of entertaining to follow her. So you get all the benefits.
Very nice. So like we mentioned earlier, tonight has actually been quite a groundbreaking night for us. We've had a couple firsts, and we're about to have another first because I was actually just informed that somebody is standing by live and to ask you a question. So Eddie, I say without further ado, let's go ahead and bring up the live video feed and see who we've got ready and waiting to ask Irina a question. Uh-oh.
Is there somebody live?
Hola, ¿cómo están mis amigos? Me llamo
Amigo,
Señor Taco.
¿cómo estás?
Yo tengo una pregunta para Irina. Do you know how to make a proper Mexican taco?
What is happening right now?
I'm sorry. I have a confession to make. I'm not Senor Taco. It's Kyle Yates, your Sick Trx teammate. What's up?
Oh, no way.
It's me.
What's up, Kylie?
It was a fake mustache.
You totally had
It
us,
wasn't
Kyle.
real.
We couldn't tell who you were.
So
Oh my gosh.
I'm at home in my kitchen, and I was preparando la cena, and I tuned into your live feed, and I figured you're probably wanting some food. You guys talking about snacks. I'm here making dinner. You want to watch me fix a nice, proper Mexican taco?
Yes, that would be amazing. Can you make tacos for all of us, Kyle?
Well, since we're quarantined, and I'm in Florida, and I can't travel to you, I'll make tacos for you another day. But I'll show you guys, all of you quarantined at home, how to make a great taco al pastor, my favorite.
Nice.
Sound good?
Wow.
See it. Yeah, definitely.
Without further ado, we start. with the ingredients. So here I've already got cebolla, cilantro, queso, piña, carne, and lima. Ooh, and an avocado and salsa verde. Okay? With a couple tortillas.
Nice.
And of course, some cerveza. You guys inspired me earlier with your IPA segment to start drinking some beer. So we got started. Ton of Corona in this house. Don't worry, we're staying safe. So to get started, we're going to want some extra virgin olive oil brushed all over our tortillas. We want extra virgin, not that processed stuff. You know what I mean. Okay? So go ahead and
Is it
start the oven
filtered or
here.
unfiltered?
That's just extra virgin olive oil. All right? So go ahead and fry up this tortilla here. Nice corn tortilla. Okay? You don't really want that flour. You know, that's real basic. Corn tortilla is the authentic kind. Okay? So I've got a special way of making my tacos. So I actually learned this from someone you're very familiar with, Chris Mills Miller from Seattle, Washington. I actually lived with him for 2 summers in his house. It was incredible. I learned a lot of very valuable life lessons. Okay? So here we are, frying up our tortilla. We got all the ingredients. I already diced up all the ingredients, to save time. I know you guys are very busy right now, and I'm well aware I'm hijacking your live interview, and I'm okay with that. So
Nice.
we're going to show you guys.
Do you have a question? Do you have a question, by the way, or are you just gonna make tacos?
Well, my question was, would you like to learn how to make a good taco? And you already said yes. You can't back out of it, so it's happening.
Yeah, he's got a great point.
Okay.
That was his very
You
first
already
question.
said yes. It would be rude. It would be rude to cut me off at this point. Okay. So here we are. Oh, Sick Trx. Okay. So
Very
first
sick.
off, we're going to start frying up the tortilla. Okay. What I like to do, and what Chris Miller taught me, we're going to double up the tortilla. A lot of times people make tacos and they use one tortilla, and sometimes some of the sauces, fall through or whatever. It rips up the tortilla, okay? And all your condiments, everything falls right through. It gets real messy. We want a nice clean taco, okay? So what we're going to end up doing is something that Chris Miller taught me, is we're going to double up the taco. We're actually going to have 2 corn tortillas for the base of our taco. And what we're going to do to separate the 2 tortillas is we're going to put some queso, some cheese in between. So a nice little cheesy quesadilla taco, okay? This is groundbreaking stuff, okay? So we're frying up our tortilla here.
Well, what angle of the pan, like when you want to toss and flip a tortilla, at what angle does your wrist in the pan start the motion? Can you please walk us through this?
Excellent question. So what you're going to do is accelerate upwards with your hand, and at a 45-degree flick, kind of like if the opposite of a little Ben John's backhand flick up at the kitchen line, we're going to want to forehand flick it, okay? Get a nice little 45-degree action there. Take some practice, some drilling, but with enough time and practice, I think you guys can pull it off. So now that we got it frying a little bit, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some queso. So take a little bit of the cheese here, and I'm going to actually apply it directly onto the tortilla here. Perfecto. All right, right there.
Is that the best angle to disperse the cheese from? Is a 90-degree
Yes.
from the bicep?
Yes. And what it does is actually bounces off the elbow and disperses perfectly, spaced out along the tortilla. Okay, so now that it's melting a little bit, that smells so good. Now that it's melting a little bit, we're going to go ahead and apply the second tortilla. Already fried up a little bit. There we go. So we're getting a nice little quesadilla action. We're going to actually pat it down nice and firm there. Okay. Get a nice little flip. Boom, just like that.
45 degrees. Beautiful.
There we go. Now is the fun part, okay? Now that our tortilla is fully quesadilla'd up, go ahead and turn off the burner. We're going to apply the rest of the ingredients. So what I like to do is I actually start little salsa verde, little green salsa. I recommend Mrs. Renfro's They were all out because of this whole pandemic thing. Publix, our grocery store here in Florida, has been just swamped. So they're all out of all the good stuff. So I got the backup green salsa. You got to work with what you got. Life lesson for you. So we're actually going to pour that green salsa right on that tortilla. I like a lot of green salsa. If you guys just want to add a little bit, that's fine. I like to add that green salsa. We're going to throw some cebollos, some onions, right on that tortilla, right into that salsa, okay? Some people don't like onions. I got a nice sweet onion, but if you just want to lightly onion it, that's okay. I like to load it up. I'm not going to be kissing anybody tonight, unfortunately, so I can load up my onions. Next is the cilantro, very important ingredient for authentic Mexican taco. Again, some people don't like cilantro. Those people are weird. So we're going to go ahead and put some cilantro on there. Nice. Load it on up with that greens. Yes.
Can you explain why you're using a different technique for when you're applying cheese versus cilantro and onion?
I'm very precise with where I place my onions and my cilantro. The cheese, I want a nice even spread, but the onion and cilantro, I want to make sure it doesn't get off on the pan. I want to keep it on the tortilla, so I place it very delicately. Great question. Next, now that we've got the onion and cilantro applied, I'm okay eating some steak. I've got some carne asada here. Some of you vegetarians, you can leave this part out. Totally fine with you. But I'm going to go ahead and apply some of this steak. I've already prepared medium rare, my favorite. Just like that, nice, evenly spaced out. Okay. Also, another great addition is the piña, the pineapple. Some people don't like pineapple. That's also weird. I like pineapple on my pizza. I like pineapple on my salad. I like it in my spaghetti. That's just me. But especially on my tacos, definitely a tacos at the store, definitely need some pineapple on here, okay? Adds a little sweetness to the saltiness from the meat. Now, last, this part gets a little dangerous, okay? We're going to add the avocado. Now, avocado hand is prevalent for, the less experienced avocado cutters. So I'm going to demonstrate how to properly cut an avocado, okay? Go ahead and set that back up here. All right, so what a lot of people do is they cut up their avocado. They like to just hack into it, ow, crap, like that, and you're really not supposed to. That was a nice clean cut there. Oh, you're really not supposed to just hack into an avocado like that. You're likely to cut your hand. Oh gosh. Oh, okay. We might have to wrap this up here pretty soon. I got a nice clean cut there, but I'm gonna fight through it. I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys. Don't worry, it's my left hand. No worries. Ooh, that's a lot of blood actually. It's okay, guys. Don't worry. So you want to slice into this avocado here. Open it on up. There we go. 2 perfect little halves here. All right. Nice, easy way to remove the pit. Just like that. Okay. Now when you take this avocado, all you do, see if I can not get blood on my phone here. I take it and I just nice little gentle squeeze right onto the tortilla, right onto the taco here. Perfect. All right. So good. Now, what I like to do, and you don't have to, you're basically done here at this point, but what I like to do is I add a little bit more green salsa right on the top, and bon appetit. That's a perfect, authentic Mexican taco for you. Now, I'm going to go put a Band-Aid on my thumb, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Well, thank you, Kyle.
Wow.
That was a very, very pleasant surprise.
You're welcome. Now, you guys, if you want to go fix some tacos, now you know how.
We thank Chris Miller. Thank you.
Yo me quedo en casa. Enjoy.
Don't
Good night, guys.
Hopefully you don't pass out. Go get stitched up or whatever you need to get done there. So, but yeah, thank you, sir. That was awesome. Very unexpected, pleasant surprise. Yeah, I mean, like I said, this is a groundbreaking night. I am starving, as a matter of fact. Like what you did, I am basically drooling because I can smell it through this podcast right now. I can smell the food. I'm starving, and I'm very jealous of what you're experiencing right now.
Well,
You should be. It's delicious.
I love your green salsa metaphor. Is basically like dealing with adversity during tournaments. If you don't have rain pros, just get something else and enjoy it.
Absolutely. Well, Irina, it's been a pleasure watching you on here. I'm going to go take care of my thumb. Luckily, it's my left hand. I'll be fine. We don't have a tournament for another month or two. I think it'll heal just nicely.
Yes.
Hasta
Take
luego.
care, Kyle. Adios.
Gracias.
Awesome. I don't know what just happened, but I loved it. that was amazing. Hopefully Kyle can recover from the injury that happened there. But Kyle said something very, very important, and actually it's something, it's like a motto of mine. You always got to have a backup green salsa or a green verde, or whatever it was that he said. You always got to have a backup green verde.
Mm-hmm. I live my life by that too. So,
yes, that was epic. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was unexpected. Honestly, at first when he cut himself, I thought it was fake, but turns out he really did, huh?
Yeah, I assumed it was fake
until we see him again.
Mm-hmm.
I assumed it was fake at first, but yeah, I'm not so sure right now. So hopefully, our thoughts and prayers are with you, Kyle. Hopefully, you recover nicely, and you'll be back on the court once the coronavirus pandemic is done with, and be as good as new. And yeah, that was. I don't even know what to say after that. That was amazing, and we're not even done with the pros asking pros questions segment yet.
I know we have a ton more questions for you guys here, so I guess we'll just move on to the next one. Here we have a question from Joey Farias.
Hey guys. Okay, so Irina, I have two questions for you today. First one is, during quarantine, what are you doing to keep yourself busy and not go crazy? And then the second one is, what are you looking forward to do the most right after we get out of this quarantine? All right, thanks guys. Bye.
Well, hey Joey. Good to see you. I wish you were stuck here with us in Tucson, but I think you're enjoying your time, and I'm not going to hold that Texas A&M t-shirt against you since we were rivals in college. I'm a Red Raider, much more respectable institution. I'm just kidding. But I think one of the cool things I've done since I've been stuck with the quarantine is I've been browsing the internet a little bit, and I found this thing. It's called Google Arts and Culture. And you can go on that website and you can take a virtual tour of over 1,500 museums across the world. So if we go back to Wes's question about my favorite author, I could visit both of their museums in Russia, Dostoevsky and Gogol, via Google Arts. And in addition to museums, they have other different projects. You can take like a culinary tour of Spain and learn about the history of tapas, or probably a history of French goat brie or architecture. They just have a ton of really cool features, and I've been enjoying and exploring that website a little bit. So, and let's see. Well, of course, I'm looking forward to competing in the pickleball tournament as soon as we can get back into action. And then depending what time of the season it is that we're allowed to socialize, I would like to get back to some of my extracurricular activities that I know I could team up with Joey sometimes for like a snowboarding session, or go down to Mexico and kiteboard a little bit. So just being able to to do some sports, I think, would be something I'm looking forward to the most as soon as the lockdown is over.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are feeling really cooped up right now and want to get out there and kind of explore, and, you know, especially someone like you where you like to travel and go do a lot of outdoor activities. I'm sure it's even harder on someone like you.
Well, a little bit. So far, I'm still pretty good, and I don't think I have hit the depression or denial level, or maybe I'm actually in denial. That's why I'm doing pretty good. But I actually had like a few trips abroad planned, and to Japan and England, Wimbledon, and Bainbridge Cup, and unfortunately those got canceled. But the world is still there, and all those things will be back sooner than later. How about you guys? Did you discover anything cool during your time at home so far?
I don't know. I mean, for me, my life really hasn't changed all that much. I work from home full time. So does my wife. We live in a community where we have, pretty much mostly what we need right here. During the work week, we wouldn't leave very much. I'd go to like Publix and maybe out to dinner one time. So our lives have really relatively been the same. I don't know about you, Webby.
Yeah, really. I mean, the biggest difference, obviously, is not going out to play pickleball like I used to. That's been very hard to get used to. But I've been able to spend more time doing video stuff. So I feel like that's really the only difference is I've got a little extra time to focus on doing the podcast, do a little more video editing for the videos that I put out there. But other than that, same kind of thing. I'm still super busy with my day job, and we're fortunate for that. I'm very grateful for that because I know a lot of people, unfortunately, are not as fortunate to be in that position. So,
yep.
Luckily, things have not changed a ton for me.
Yep. But I'm
well, if you
excited.
guys know, in Arizona, it's about to get really hot in Arizona. So actually, if you think about it, from May to probably end of September in Arizona, people actually function in a lockdown type of scenario because everybody stays home during the day, and you only come out for a little bit in the morning and at night. And where I live at night is could be a little bit dangerous because of all the wild animals. You can come across javelinas, you can come across coyotes. So actually, if anything, Arizona is about to go into kind of normal gear. Maybe some parts of Florida and Southern California, Las Vegas, they might be approaching almost normal lifestyle here pretty soon.
Yeah,
and kind of like
go ahead.
For me here in Michigan, it's kind of like the same kind of thing. Like in the winter, it would have been kind of like the same thing. We kind of like hunker down, hibernate for the winter, stay indoors a lot. But for the past couple of weeks, the weather has been super nice, and I normally would have been out playing pickleball with all my pickleball buddies. Unfortunately, here in Michigan, we're hit super hard. So the pickleball courts and all the parks and stuff like that have been on lockdown and shut down for the past couple of weeks. So that hasn't really even been an option. So it was somewhat normal until the weather got nice. Now it's killing me. But luckily, I've got a portable net. My daughter and I have gotten out and played outside a couple times with our portable net. So at least I'm getting a little bit of a pickleball fix, but I cannot wait until we can finally get back out there with the big groups like we're used to.
It's going to be wonderful. Why don't we move on to the next question here? And this is from none other than Lucy Kovalova.
Hey, Eddie and Webby. Hey, Irina. I hope you guys are staying safe. There is a question for Irina. You are a very laid-back girl, but oftentimes your partner wants you to get fired up in a match. How do you become more emotionally involved during the competition? Bye.
I feel like we've heard this question before. What about you guys?
Yeah, it does sound very familiar. I got like a sense of deja vu there. I don't know why, but it sounded very familiar.
Well, I actually took a few tips from Lucy herself. I played a bunch of tournaments with her, and I played a bunch of tournaments against her. And one of the things Lucy does really, really well to get pumped up, and I kind of stole that play from her. Usually, she hits a winner, or she thinks she hit a winner, and while the ball is flying in the air, she just yells, "Yep!" And then it might look a little bit awkward if the ball actually looked out, or if the ball lands in, she's kind of on it. But that's definitely a play I stole from Lucy, and I try to use it as early as I can in the match. maybe in the first point if I can. Just somebody hits the ball out. Yep. And just hope for the best it actually lands out.
Nice.
Another tip I learned also from one of my partners, Jessie Irvine. You know what she does to get pumped up in the match?
What's that?
She waits for the ball to land out on her side and get pumped and screams, "Come on," to the outbounds. So picture that, right? You get really close to the outbounds, the ball is landing, you get low, and you fist pump the bounce of the ball out. Powerful stuff.
Oh, that's great.
Classic. I love it.
Another good source that I've always tried to, I always look up to is Matt Wright. He's famous for yelling, "Come on," really loud. So always inspirational, and I try to use that as much as I can myself. And it's always an honor if I get off the court, like at a random tournament, and Matt Wright is not there, or maybe he's there, but I get a text message from him, or maybe just like a quick conversation. It's like, "Hey, Irina, by the way, at 9-3, that come on was super awesome."
I like it. Good
So
stuff.
it does help a lot when my peers and my partners provide a little bit of feedback, and if they kind of acknowledge it, that gives me a lot more confidence to keep using it again.
Well, speaking of Matt Wright, he actually
Oh, no.
has 2 questions for you, and I'm going to go ahead and play the first one right now.
Hi, Irina. Hope you're having as much fun on the Eddie and Webby show as I did a few weeks ago. I have a 2-part question. My first question is, I know you and I like to laugh a lot at It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. If you had to pick either your favorite line or favorite episode from that show, what would it be?
Ooh, are you guys familiar with that show, Always Sunny?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Love
one of my
that
favorites.
show.
Yep.
Yeah, one of my favorites for sure. I absolutely love that show.
So probably my favorite episode is called, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's called The Nightman's Comet.
Mm-hmm.
When Charlie creates a musical. And the feature song of that musical is Dayman.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we know that very well. In fact, we sing that regularly when we're together.
Yes, we do.
Dayman.
So sometimes Fighter of the Night Man. Champion of the Sun.
Oh, man. Amazing.
So yeah, sometimes I actually address Matt like that. I'll be like coming in behind him and I'll be like, "Dayman." And he turns back to me.
Nice. Well, I'll have to reference that show when I'm partnering up with Matt Wright, because he and I are supposed to be partners in 2021 as long as I master the Ernie shot.
Oh yeah? Did you guys sign up for all the PPAs or for all the APPs?
We haven't done it yet, but as soon as I master the Ernie, then he said that's what I need to do, and then he and I will be partners for 2021. So as soon as I master the Ernie, we'll sign up for every tournament available.
Well, you should maybe ask him the same, because he hasn't mastered the Ernie quite yet.
Oh, really? So he's like asking a lot of me, and he can't even do it himself?
He's trying to ride your coattails.
Right?
Well, but actually he's probably being smart about it, because you want to have a partner who kind of complements your game. So if he is lacking in one area, he definitely wants a partner who can do really well in that area, which would be Ernie. So actually,
yeah,
he's thinking ahead, and he probably wants to win. So you better get that Ernie down.
Yeah, we learned that he's an attorney, so yeah, like I feel like he's a very, very intelligent man. He's always thinking ahead, and yeah, I mean it's great strategy. So we'll see. As soon as I master the Ernie, you'll see. He and I are going to be at the top of the list of the pro men's doubles division. You'll see.
That's right. And speaking of Matt Wright, he has a second question for you here, Irina.
And my second question is, if you had to pick your favorite story or favorite moment involving our good buddy Chris Mills Miller, the future Hall of Famer, the legend himself, what would it be? Hope you're staying safe through all this chaos going on in the world right now, and looking forward to seeing you at our next tournament.
First of all, are you guys digging the clock behind Matt? How sick was that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I did notice. That was very nice.
Yes. So that totally made me forget the question once I made the clock comment.
The best story about Mills Miller.
Mills. Ooh. The best story. There's so many. Okay, I'll give you guys two. Both of them happened at the 2019 US Open. And the first story was Adam Stone and I on our day off following Chris Miller. He played in senior pro doubles with Steve Dawson, and we followed his every match from court to court throughout the whole tournament and cheered for him. Might have had a couple of beers, but that was the most amazing experience, just watching him come to life, talk to himself, talk a little bit of smack, throw the paddle, change outfits. You know, there's so many things that go on with Chris Miller during tournaments. So that was probably the highlight. To be honest with you, that's probably an advice for tournament directors when they're kind of promoting their event and they're advertising different experiences people and spectators and participants can have throughout the tournament, whether it's having some tacos nearby or going to the botanical garden. One of the activities they can do is follow Chris Miller for a day. Just go and watch his every match, and it will be an unbelievable experience, guaranteed.
Even better than the botanical gardens?
Well, I haven't been to the botanical gardens in Naples. I've been trying to go for the last 5 years. I keep saying every single time that I want to go, and I never make it out there.
Well, if next time you're in town, let me know. We'll absolutely hit it up because I thoroughly enjoy it.
You've been there? You like it?
I've been there a couple times, yeah. And the best part is they have like this little cafe that also serves wine and beer. So you can go there and have a drink while you're admiring all the botanicals. If you can use that word as a noun, all the different vegetation. I don't even know what the proper term is.
Yes.
But it's a lot of
fun. But yes, in all honesty, I think the reason Chris Miller keeps getting brought up so much in today's podcast, and I don't know, maybe some other podcasts, is he's a super cool guy and probably one of the most passionate and knowledgeable players in pickleball. And I think he's helped a lot of players, including myself, to get into the game, maybe find some partners, find housing, find this and this, find a sponsor. He's very resourceful. And yes, I think all of us appreciate his energy, his kind of sense of humor, and his tenaciousness when he plays pickleball. He only knows one gear, and it's 100%. So if you're just like warming up with Chris, be ready. The first ball he feeds is like a passing shot at 300 miles an hour. He's trying to hit a winner on the first ball that he feeds to you. So you got to be alert.
All right. I'm looking forward to meeting him one day. That'll be fun.
What about you, Webby? Do you know Chris?
I've never met him. No. Looking forward to it, though.
All right. I would love to personally introduce you guys next time we all get together.
Nice.
Let's do it. So our next question actually comes from our friend, Michelle Esquivel. Oops, sorry.
Hi, Eddie and Webby. Hi, Irina. I had a question for you. I wanted to know who was your influence growing up in sports, and do you have an influential pickleball player that you admire? Thanks. Bye.
Well, hi, Michelle. Good to see you. Thank you for the question. Let's see. When I was growing up, I was probably most into tennis. So I had a lot of tennis players who kind of impacted my career and my development. Evgeny Kafelnikov, a Russian tennis player who was probably ranked top 3, maybe even number 1 in the world, a Grand Slam champion. He was my huge favorite, and I kind of copied my technique a little bit after him, especially the backhand shot. But also what I used to do when I was a kid growing up, we host a big professional tennis tournament in Moscow. It's called the Kremlin Cup. So when I was a junior tennis player, like when I was 10, 11, 13, 14 years old, I was a ball girl at a tournament. So I would go there for 2 weeks and work the matches and work different positions like baseline, the net, and so forth. And then just spend my free time running around this huge facility, hanging out with friends, playing hide and seek, and just being goofy. But as far as my kind of tennis development inspiration, a lot of it came from watching the tournament and going back to the practice and just copying the players I saw earlier in the day, and changing my game completely to try to copy their game style. And I have to say, I want to thank my coaches for being super patient with me during those times and kind of letting me explore and just mess around, because probably at the end it was good for me. But, I also got to be myself and maybe learn a little bit and adapt and change. And I think it kind of translates a little bit into pickleball. As you guys know, some of the players do an excellent job imitating other players. Ben Johns did a little segment with you guys, and
Oh yeah,
as a matter of fact, right? Like it was super awesome. You guys have ever published like the list of all the 11 players, so we know the answers? You did.
Yep. Oh yeah.
I'll
Yeah,
have to
Simone.
research
It was
that.
on Simone's channel. She published who they all were.
Nice. But actually, I played a few matches with Ben Johns, and during the match, he played in the style of our opponent. So we played against Matt Goebel and Christine Barksdale one time at the SoCal Classic, and he was hitting his forehands like Goebel, and a couple of times he played like Jeff Warnick. So he actually goes a step further, and he can beat you in a match playing like you, just like the short shorts. So I think that's a pattern with Ben. He just takes your strength and tries to beat you at your strength, whether it's the outfits or the shots or whatever. I don't know.
I love it. That's good stuff. I wonder how to be able to imitate your opponent and beat them at it. That's unreal.
Yes, and there are a few other guys who are really good at that. DJ Darian Young, SoCal guy, and of course Joey, and there are probably a few others, but I hung out with them and played some reg games, and it basically turned into just imitating play. It was awesome. We had a great time.
That's cool. Love it. Well, we're down to 2 more pro questions here. And this next one comes from your self-proclaimed partner in crime, Denise D.
Greetings from Wildcat Country. My name is Denise D, and I am the coach of the University of Arizona women's tennis team and Irina's partner in crime. Sportsmanship is one of my core values as an athlete and as a coach. So, Irina, my question to you is, can you please describe the state of sportsmanship in pickleball? Bear down.
Wow. It looks like Denise was in the professional mode right there in the video. Well, I would say maybe coming from a tennis background, I probably have slightly different expectations of sportsmanship than maybe some or maybe most people who play pickleball. I was kind of taught to, apologize if the ball hits the net, if I hit a let, or I was taught to apologize if I hit somebody in the body. So I usually do that and then turn around and fist pump, of course, but that's after. So I think pickleball is maybe at an interesting phase. I've had some really, really good experiences with sportsmanship in pickleball. Like great examples would be professional players competing at some of the like gold medal matches at the big tournaments where you would get line judges. So maybe like at US Open or Nationals, and line judge making a wrong call and the player giving the call back to their opponent because it was too obvious. We actually had to kind of fight pretty hard for it. There was myself and Simone and a few other players who really argued with the current rules, because at some point the rule was that the linesman call stands. But we kind of logically convinced people that that probably shouldn't be happening, and I think the rules changed at the end. So we see a lot of those instances where a pro, or not necessarily a pro, just like any player, would basically overturn a bad call, whether the referee made it or maybe their partner made it, and give it back to the opponents, or at least offer to replay the point. I think that's always nice to see, and I know those things are hard to do regardless of the score, and especially hard to do when the score is closed. When the score is close, to the end, like 9-9 or something like that. But usually the good spirit kind of comes out. And then I've seen some maybe some interesting displays of maybe bad sportsmanship. A good example would be I played in a local tournament in Arizona one time, and I played with my buddy Darren Thompson, who's like a 4-5 player. He lives in San Carlos, Mexico. Super nice. And we played in like a 5-0 division. And it's a charity tournament for the Green Valley firefighters in Arizona. My friend Sean Rickard put up the tournament. So like super laid back. And we're playing some random people, and they're just getting like super pumped up. And to the point where maybe like Darren makes an unforced error on a super easy dink, and the opponents is celebrating. So I kind of try to have a conversation a little bit with them about celebrating on forced versus unforced errors, and understand their point of view. A lot of people say when they kind of get a little bit outrageous in their celebrations during I just want to beat the pro, or I'm just like so passionate about it, which I understand. I think that shouldn't really overshadow the big picture of everybody having a good time. And, if you want to beat the pro, actually hit to the pro. Don't hit to the other person and celebrate their unforced errors. So right. Sometimes I get into it a little bit with my opponents or maybe spectators if I feel like people are celebrating on unforced errors a little bit too aggressively, or maybe if they start out from like the very first point of the first round match of like some random tournament. So I'm hoping that maybe overall people can gauge their responses a little bit and kind of get to the same level. And everybody loves the passion. Everybody loves the personalities to come out, and everybody likes the celebration. But I think, there's a difference between like winning at all costs and competing to the best of your ability. And sometimes I don't know, I'd like to think that I'm probably willing to lose a match if I need to do the right thing. At the end of the day, it's just pickleball.
Very well said. And I agree with you. I think it is just pickleball, and, even if the right thing means I disagree with that call, so I'm going to hit my next shot into the net to give it back. We've seen that happen before, and I think that's one of the great things about pickleball is sportsmanship. Although some people don't display it, I feel like the majority of people have great sportsmanship with the sport. That's my personal opinion. I don't know. What do you think, Webby?
Yeah, I totally agree. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, our very last question comes from somebody who knows Irina probably about as good as anybody else in the world. This is going to be a little bit of a meta moment here. And this next question comes from Irina Tereschenko.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Eddie and Webby. Irina Tereschenko here with Team Pedal Tech. I have a question for the special guest tonight. What are your favorite places to pick up some reg games in pickleball? Bye. Well, I feel like Irina hasn't been listening to the podcast because we definitely covered that question. So I'm going to say... Get it together, Irina.
Obviously, Irina is a huge fan of Wes Gabrielson because she asked the exact same question that Wes asked earlier.
Very true. But I mean, I can always expand a little bit on that answer. And thinking of Wes Gabrielson, he's going to co-host a tournament in the summer in Bend, Oregon. That's one of my favorite places to play pickleball. I actually haven't played any reg games there, but for a tournament setting, it is super nice. It's I don't know if you guys have ever been to Bend, Oregon, but it's kind of like up in the mountains and very outdoorsy. So there's like a huge dog park and campsites next to the tennis courts, and then downtown is super cool. You can float the river and go to plenty of breweries, so it's kind of up your sleeve. And around the area, you can go hiking, you can go kiteboarding on the Hood River, which I'm hoping, if that tournament happens, I would love to try to go kiteboarding on the Hood River. And one of my good friends, Tracy the Jagger, who is actually very, very good at kiteboarding, said she will take me out and try to keep an eye on me so I don't get drowned. I don't drown or run into a barge that's going on the Hood River. So I would say she's like pro at kiteboarding, and I'm like a 2.5. So that's always a good experience for me. And let's see, reg games. There was a really cool place in Seattle when I lived there. It was a Redmond Senior Center. Only 2 courts, and the people who pioneered that venue, they used to get together. There was a group that got together 2 times a week, and Glenn Peterson was part of this group, and Marco, and then Brian Ashworth and Chris Miller would drive up from Kent, and you had Jay. So there were a ton of people, and everybody just kind of rotated in. And that's when I was just starting to play pickleball. It was also the summer when Kyle Yates was in Washington area. So I was definitely getting my butt kicked in almost every single reg game that I was playing and figuring things out. Tanya Major and Levon Major used to go there all the time. But it was a very nice setting. It was at a park next to a trail, so kids could run around, people could bike to it. It was easy to commute, and you just kind of hang out, play some music, play some reg games, have a good time. Yoda always played there, so I definitely lost a bunch of games to Yoda. And it was a humbling experience. And that's probably was one of my first experiences with Sick Trx was Yoda.
Oh, nice. Well, speaking of Sick Trx, that's actually something I wanted to talk about. I know we've mentioned it a few times throughout the show tonight, but for those who are just tuning in that might not be familiar with it, can you tell us exactly what is Sick Trx and how did it get started?
I think Sick Trx is definitely a state of mind. It's a lifestyle that just kind of promotes creativity and fun and experimentation and exploration, mostly in pickleball, but in everything else in life. You know, it could be making tacos or so forth. But basically, Kyle Yates and Brian Ashworth kind of picked up this saying from a show that most of you probably know really well. It's called The Impractical Jokers. Mm-hmm. And there was an episode there with a remote control car that kept going into people's feet. And as they jumped up and tried to avoid the cart, the guys from Practical Jokers just kind of yelled, "Sick Trx, Sick Trx." So then Kyle and Brian just started saying it after like different pickleball points. And first they were a little bit sarcastic. So like if you screw up really bad, they would be like, "Yeah, Sick Trx." But then it actually evolved to saying Sick Trx after executing one of the trick shots. like an Ernie and ATP and so forth. And of course, I just started repeating it because I thought that was cool. And then Ben Johns started repeating it. And a good friend of ours likes to take a bunch of photos, Uncle Mike. He likes to take a bunch of photos at US Open of all the players and the center court atmosphere. You guys can actually check them out. His website, I think, is called onelonesock.com. And he took a bunch of photos. He sent them to me, and he was like, I want to start a website like irinatereschenko.com. And I'm like, no way. This cannot happen. Why don't we, but I really like your photos and I really like the idea. So why don't we start like a little website and we call it Sick Trx? Because that's what was on everybody's tongue at that time. And that was the birth. Next thing I knew, I was on a group text with my buddies, and we started Sick Trx. And recently, Joey Farias was invited to our group, and we're super proud that he joined us. And we just try to have a good time and try to hit as many trick shots as we can in the match. That's one of our goals.
Nice. Yeah, I absolutely love it. And anybody who is a fan of Eddie and Webby knows that we recently did a video called Sick Trx, which obviously was heavily influenced by Sick Trx. In fact, the shirt I'm wearing right now is heavily influenced by Sick Trx, so I turned the wrong direction. But I'm wearing my Sick Trx t-shirt, which is actually a play off of a Sick Trx t-shirt that I've seen Ben Johns and Kyle Yates wear. And so yeah, definitely very inspirational, the whole Sick Trx thing. But speaking of Sick Trx, we actually have a video clip that we'd like to play. And this is something that Scott Golden posted on Facebook. And it's too good not to share with everybody. And on a side note, the song that Scott originally used in the video, it would cause us to get a copyright strike. So we replaced the music with the Pickleball anthem music. So that being said, please enjoy this awesome clip. Man, that is one of the most epic rallies I've ever seen. And if I'm not mistaken, wasn't that a match point?
Yes, that was a match point. We sometimes it kind of bites us in the butt, but a lot of times on the match point, I'm trying to go for a sick trick. This one was a little bit more successful than most, but kudos to Andrea and Tyson because they defended every single one of them.
Right? Yeah. But man, that was amazing.
I like the new music better.
Oh, thank you. But man, Ben had a couple Ernies. He had a tweener way at the back of the baseline. I mean, and then you had the game-ending shot that they couldn't return. I mean, that was friggin' amazing. I absolutely love that clip.
Yes, that's definitely one of my favorite points. Thank you for playing it, guys. I want to give you a little bit insight on Ben's ability to hit tweeners. Shortly before we played in the SoCal Classic, which this point happened at the SoCal Classic, I traveled to Washington, D.C., and then Ben Johns and I spent a little bit of time teaching together. And usually one of the drills we do together is an offensive lob. So we would do the demo, and during the demo, I would eventually lob Ben, and we talk about a few sets. And he inevitably would demonstrate hitting a couple of tweeners, sometimes as a joke, but sometimes also as a way to explain to people how to defend the lob and try to move around the ball a little bit and not run into it, because if you run into it, the only option you have is a tweener. So maybe in the, during those 10 days that we taught together, Ben Johns probably ended up hitting, like, I would say over 100 tweeners for every offensive lob demonstration that we did. So no surprise, his execution was perfect in the tournament.
Yeah, that was absolutely amazing. I've watched that clip probably at least 30 times by now, and it never gets old. It's incredible, to say the least. So I just realized we've been talking to you for over 2 hours now, so I don't want to take up too much more of your time, because I think this is probably the longest we've ever had a guest on our show. I could easily talk to you for another 2 hours. There are a couple more things I want to bring up before we wrap things up, though, and it's also involving Ben Johns. I heard a rumor that Ben Johns gets your paddles ready to play by putting lead tape and electric tape on them, and he's the only one who knows the exact measurements that you like. Is that true, or is that false?
That's very true. And I have incredible trust in Ben, because he's an engineer and he is very precise. And he oftentimes, I don't have my own lead tape, so he lets me use his, which is very nice of him. But I stepped up a little bit a level now, and I actually carry my own lead tape. But I still ask Ben to take care of my paddles, and he does a fantastic job.
Very nice. I also have another fun fact involving Ben Johns. I heard this on the street. Not sure if it's true, but I would love for you to confirm if it's true or not. And I heard that you and Ben Johns actually got a pedicure together one time, and he absolutely loved it. Is that true?
That is 100% true. Well, what also happened is that we invited Kyle Yates and Brian Ashworth to join us, but they declined. And that's on them, because Ben looked good.
Yeah, so I've never had a pedicure, but if somebody offered to give me one, I would accept. And yeah, I do believe this guy up here, Eddie, I think he knows a thing or two about pedicures.
I've gone a couple times, and yes, especially because it's going to sound gross, but I get ingrown toenails. They dig that right on out, and I don't know. I think I've gone maybe 3 or 4 times, but I love it. It's good. It's good stuff.
Nice.
Yes, the best. You got to keep your feet nice. When you put those flip-flops on between the matches, ask Lucy Kovalova. She doesn't miss a pedicure.
That's right. And
Nice.
Irina, I know that we've had you on for a really long time here, and I'm really sorry to all the people that have posted a ton of questions on social media. It sounds like we're going to have to get Irina back on the show again in the near future to go over them. But there's one thing, speaking of Lucy, that I wanted to bring up here. And Lucy said, please tell the story with eating salmon at Olive Garden.
Well, that was Chris Miller's story number 2 that I decided not to share because it was kind of brutal. Not for us, but for Chris. So we're in Naples again at US Open. And he goes out to dinner to Olive Garden. And I don't know what you guys order at Olive Garden, but probably not salmon. But Chris did. And he ate it, and he got food poisoning.
Oh, no.
Which at first... Yeah, so we get home, we all stayed at the same house. It was like, man, Lucy, Chris, and Darren. And we get to the house, and Chris is in the room, and he's like, I don't feel good. And we kind of dismissed it a little bit. And I left to go say hi to some people. I think we went to the Pedal Tech house. So then I call Chris Miller in like 30 minutes to check in on him. And I have him on speakerphone with like half of Team Pedal Tech staff. And Chris answers the phone like he's dying. On the altar. He's like, hello. So we, of course, like just break out, dying laughing. This tone of voice, and then finally like calm down a little bit and ask him if he's okay. And he just keeps saying that he's like really cold and he doesn't feel good. So I go home, go check on him. I go into his room, take his hand, and he keeps like shivering, and he's like, Irina, I'm so cold. I'm so cold. I'm so cold right now. I don't know if I'm going to make it. So I look at the situation, and I see that he's laying on top of 3 blankets. So first thing I do, I'm like, Chris, why don't you get under these blankets, cover yourself? I get him some Pedialyte, and put a bucket, in case he wants to throw up. And then close the door and go back out to the living room to kind of keep laughing at him. So it was like a little bit of combination of helping out a friend, but also really taking advantage of his misery and laughing. I think the next day the story continued because he was still not feeling well and I couldn't get to the matches. And then he was telling like Lucy and Matt how he felt. So we probably still keep reminding him about the salmon story. So the lesson is don't order salmon in random places. Ben Johns
Right.
can attest to that because he ordered some salmon at Nationals at a sports bar, and then he was sick the whole term, and that was 2 years ago. So beware, guys. Maybe in Florida, when you go to a fresh seafood restaurant, that's good, but the rest could be brutal.
Right. Oh, wow. So yeah, I feel like this is an inside scoop. I never really knew the source of what caused Ben to be sick during Nationals, but I feel like now we know it's the salmon. Blame it on the salmon.
Yeah, so if you want to beat Eddie in one of those matches that you guys do, that you keep losing, maybe you could invite him to salmon dinner before.
There we go. Yep. Next time we're having a good salmon dinner before the Eddie versus Webby match. I love it. Love the strategy.
Not from Olive Garden,
yeah.
though.
Yeah, I'll take you out to Olive Garden, but you're only allowed to get salmon before the big match next time. But wow, very interesting stuff. Oh man, Irina, this has been such a fun night. A night of groundbreaking things here on the Eddie and Webby podcast. Before we say goodbye, though, I want to give you a chance to talk about pretty much anything you want. The microphone is yours, so to speak. So I don't know if you want to tell anybody like the best way to follow you, about what you're doing in your career or on social media or anything, whatever you want to talk about. The microphone is yours.
All right, thank you. Well, first I want to thank you guys for having me on the show and for everybody tuning in. I'm really sorry that we didn't get a chance to answer some of the questions that you guys posted live. Definitely my fault because I just kept talking and talking, so I need to be a little bit more aware of the time frame. I'm a little bit new to social media, and you guys can find me there. I'll try to get better and better and more entertaining as I go, as I figure out how those things work. But so far, it's been kind of fun, and it's a cool way to stay connected. I love what people are doing on social media during these times, and you guys are definitely covering a lot of those things in your shows. So amazing. Keep it up. And I can't wait to get back to playing pickleball. Can't wait to see all my friends and, play again in front of a bunch of people and have a good time. And maybe I want to add just one more favorite place to play pickleball. Again, on the West Coast, I need to do better with playing pickleball in the Midwest and the East Coast. But in Pasadena, there's a really cool place to get some rec games. Jesse Irvine, Jeff Warnick, Chris Anderson, they kind of hang out there, and maybe like 30 more people. And, they're games of all levels. It's a very fun group of people who also like to hang out, maybe do a happy hour before, do some trick shots. So if you're ever around, stop by. But I always, I felt really welcome there from the very first moment. So I have been back a couple of times and would like to come back again. Great place to pick up some rec games in Pasadena. A little bit of LA fashion and lifestyle at your fingertips.
Awesome. Sounds great. Man, like I said before, we could easily talk to you for a couple more hours. That just shows we definitely got to have you on sometime soon. It's no secret you are definitely one of our favorite people in all of pickleball, so you're welcome on the show anytime. And we love the fact that you're always willing to contribute to the pros asking pros questions segments. Even when you're the guest host, or even when you're the guest on the show, you submit a question. So I mean, that's amazing. Love it. But man, such a fun night. It's just I can't believe how fast the time went by. We've been here for over 2 hours now. This is awesome. We will definitely need to have you back on sometime. I've got a bunch more questions for you. We can have just maybe we should just have an episode of nothing but Q&A from people tuning in, because we had tons of questions coming in. It's just you're a wealth of knowledge, and we could talk to you for hours and hours and never run out of things to talk about. So we will definitely have you back on again. Can't thank you enough for being here, and I hope you have a good night. I hope you stay safe, and can't wait to see you back in the pro level pickleball matches as soon as possible.
Thank you, guys. I just want to ask Eddie one question. Is there any cheese left on his board, or he crushed everything?
I crushed it. I hate it.
Oh, man.
It's donezo. I killed it, and it was delicious. And I'm almost done with my second one of these, and they are 10% ABV.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
He's feeling really good right about now.
Yep, that's why I'm hitting the wrong buttons and stuff over here.
Nice.
Well done. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Irina.
Yeah,
this has been awesome.
Thank you very much, Irina. Such a fun night. And have a good night.
Bye.
Man.
Oh, man. What an epic night. That's such a fun night. She's such a great person. So much fun to talk to.
Yeah, Irina, I mean, you said it. She's one of our favorites in the sport. You know, I got to tell you something about Irina, and I wanted to bring this up when she was still with us here, but when we were live streaming the World Pickleball Championship, Irina came on and did guest commentary. And there's something she said when she was sitting there with us that I will always remember. And she was bringing up fun facts about all 4 pros that were out on the court. And I asked her, I'm like, Irina, how do you know so much about all the people out there? And she said, I ask questions. And I really do think that is such a key element of her personality. When you hang out with her, you get the feeling like she wants to know so much about you. She wants to know every little facet of your life, all of the things that have happened to you that have led you to this point of this conversation when you're talking with her. And I think that's one of the main reasons why she's so loved in this sport and why she has such a wealth of knowledge and such strong relationships with everybody. Because of the simple fact that she asks questions and she wants to get to know people. And I love that about her.
Yeah, for sure. The first time I ever met her was at the in Grand Rapids at the Beer City Open welcome party. And first time I met her was on the show. She sat down with us. We talked to her. And she's the first person that like actually started asking us questions. Like normally we ask everybody else questions and the conversation just rolls on. But she was like, she wanted to get to know us. And it was just such a different approach. And it was cool because I genuinely felt like she really wanted to get to know us. And it was such a crazy, wild night. She didn't sit with us for very long. So, I mean, I've been looking forward to tonight for a very, very long time. And she definitely did not disappoint. I can't wait to have her back on. Just, yeah, such a great person. Some fun night.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. We wanted to have her on live in my office during the U.S. Open, but unfortunately that was canceled. Last week had the technical issues, so we had to reschedule. But third time's a charm, right?
That's right. That is right. But our show is not over quite yet. Anybody who has been with us since the beginning knows I said that we have a huge announcement to make, and I think it's time to go ahead and make that announcement. And I just want to start off by playing a little video, and this features none other than Ben Johns, and he was playing pickleball with something much different than a traditional pickleball paddle. So I think we should go ahead and play that first video right now.
Got it.
So he's playing with a spatula. He's playing with a metal spatula there and doing a pretty darn good job. So I'm not going to lie, that's pretty impressive. But word on the street was that Ben Johns feels that his spatula skills are so good that he could easily beat you and I at pickleball. That was the word on the street. So I figured Ben Johns would not be foolish enough to place a challenge like that and like place something out there saying that he could easily beat you and I with him using a spatula. So I messaged him about it, and he sent me a video clip as a response. So let's go ahead and play his response video now.
Hi, Webby. Consider this your official challenge for a 1 versus 2 match. Me against you and Eddie, and I have to use a spatula. Not this one. I'm going to use a nice metal one. My choice.
So there it is from the source himself. He thinks he's good enough to beat you and I in a 2 versus 1 match where he uses a spatula.
Any chance we can get him to play left-handed? Because that even still would be tough, but at least we'd have a little bit better of a chance, right?
Right. But I mean, come on. Like, I know obviously Ben Johns is like the greatest player in all of pickleball right now currently. I mean, I feel like there's no denying that. But I mean, come on. Even the greatest player using a spatula, you really think he can beat us with a spatula?
You know, I'm up for the challenge. How about that? I'm up for the challenge for sure.
Okay. And I also am up for the challenge. I definitely don't think it'll be easy, but come on. It's a little spatula. The thing is like barely bigger than the pickleball itself, the surface of the spatula that he's hitting it with. Come on. I do not think
I did like
that
the
Ben
sound
Johns
of
can
it.
beat us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had a very unique sound. I did like that as well.
It was like the first time I heard a gearbox paddle, right? You hear that and you're like, oh, that's unique. Maybe that's the new face. It's got to be
right. Yeah, the metal right. Paddle.
Right.
It started off as a wooden paddle, and then it was like, nah, we got to do composite. And then now it's metal.
That's right.
You got to do the metal paddle. But yeah, I seriously I mean, he's an amazing player, but come on, I do not think Ben Johns can beat Eddie and Webby with him using a spatula.
Well, I guess everybody's gonna have to wait to find out.
So
hopefully this,
I think
once all this COVID stuff's over with, we'll have to plan that, right?
Yeah. So I think right now it's safe to say, Ben, we officially accept your challenge. Eddie and Webby versus Ben Johns and a spatula.
We're coming for you, brother.
That's right. Yeah, you heard it here first. This has been an absolutely amazing night for us. How many groundbreaking moments have we had tonight? I mean, I feel like we've had at least 4.
First time bringing up Russian literature. First time having a live... Well, I mean, Adam Stone did ask a live question to Deckel, but a live, remote pros asking pros question, right?
Yeah, the first time ever having a cooking show during the show, because Kyle did like a full-blown cooking show. That was pretty amazing. The whole the beer snack thing, we went over a list of beer snacks. Each of us dined on a beer snack that Irina recommended.
Don't forget, first time blood has ever been spilt live
right?
on our show.
Yeah. Has anybody checked in on Kyle? How's Kyle doing, I wonder? Hopefully he's still conscious. Hopefully his cut is not infected.
Courtney, are you still out there? I saw you comment earlier. Can you let us know how Kyle's doing, please? Thank you. We appreciate it. Want to make sure he's good.
Yeah. Yeah. And we had an epic challenge placed from Ben Johns. Yeah, definitely an unforgettable night. This will go down in history for sure.
That's right. And Webby, I got one question, actually 2 questions for you. First one is,
okay,
you still want to do dinking around?
if you can stay up late enough, I'm down. I've actually got tomorrow off work, so I can stay up as late as I want. I feel like
game.
it's your call. All right, let's do it. I say we do it.
All right, we're gonna do it. I'm in for the long haul, folks. I might have to refill my beverage situation over here, but second question is, what else do you want to talk about tonight in the podcast?
Oh man, that's all I had on the agenda to talk about. I don't know about you.
No, that is absolutely everything that I had, and I got to tell you, this one is going to go down as one of our top podcasts of all time up to this point.
Yes.
We had so many first times. We had an amazing guest, Irina Tereschenko, that we've been looking forward to for a long time to have on our podcast. 100% focus on her. So that was great. And this has been episode number 64, which means there are 64 of you out there. And guess what, Webby?
What?
We love you guys. And on that note,
we do.
I'm Eddie.
And until next time, this is Webby, not Eddie, signing off.
See ya.